Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Groovy Podcast. My name is Ken Cousin. This week, podcasting from screencasting, whatever, from Marlborough, Connecticut, and we have
Hi, everybody. I'm Baruch with J Frog from the shiny Santa Clara, California.
Shiny.
Shiny. No, it's great weather being here it's summer in California.
It works on so many levels because it's also a Firefly reference, which is
Exactly.
yeah,
Of
very
course. Yes.
I know you were in Miami earlier or late last
Yeah.
week, right?
Yeah, I was in Miami this week doing a Docker meetup. Miami is hot and humid. Reminds me a lot of Israel.
Yeah, I wouldn't think Miami in August would be the place to go. Very good.
Well, made me some nostalgic feeling, so that's fine. And it was a lot of fun. It was a meetup that took place in this neighborhood with all the graffiti on the walls. What the name? Very famous.
Uh,
Wywood.
oh, well, there's Hollywood, Florida, but I don't know if that's it.
I forgot the name. So there is a very famous. It's Winewood. Winewood. It's a very famous neighborhood in Miami. Most of the walls are covered with really like art graffiti, and that's exciting. And we were there in a charity like after school class for children that they learn technology, all from donations, and they do amazing stuff. And this is where the meetup was. So. Except of being great being in Miami for a Docker meetup, the circumstances were interesting as well.
Well, I think of you as taking your talents to South Beach.
Exactly.
I would have figured that's where you were headed.
Yeah, Zika virus mosquitoes. I skipped the beach this time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a LeBron reference too. I trust you get.
I did.
Okay, good. Thank goodness. All right. Well, maybe instead of doing worse jokes, we should move on to what subject we can.
Let's do that.
Okay, so of course the big news since our last podcast is the release of Gradle 3.0.
Oh yes.
Oh, sorry.
It's not only available in general from the Gradle website, it's also available on SDK Manager. It is primarily a performance-based improvement. I found it very interesting when they discussed at the Gradle Summit how
okay, so you did it.
primarily going to be performance focused and not involving the big changes to the model that they've been discussing for some time.
Yeah.
But I noted that one of the things that's interesting, of course, is the Gradle daemon is now enabled by default. Most people I know had that enabled anyway, but now it's on default.
Yep.
It has some support for Java 9. It'd be interesting to see if Java 9 actually comes out on schedule. Last I heard, that was supposed to be February, March next year.
I think it's maybe April or something in the first half of next year. Yes.
Which means it'll make it into industry in the U.S. sometime in 2025 or something like that. No, I'm being
as usual.
a little.
No, actually, the question is not how stable and good and popular Java 9 is. The real question is how fast they will deprecate and stop supporting Java 8. That's the only what matters to the acceptance of Java 9.
Well, we'll see. I don't know yet. At any rate, they also they did say that Gradle 3 no longer supports Java 5 and Java 6, which means at long last, all those WebSphere people are going to have to upgrade.
Yep.
We'll see how that goes.
So except of the one of the merits, of course, of the major release is those breaking changes like end of support for Java 5 and Java 6. But generally, I have a very kind of mixed feeling about it. I'm not sure whether enabling daemon by default worth a major version. Expectations from Gradle 3 were twofold. First, of course, is the support for the new model, the one they fight for, and the one that actually was invented for Android, but eventually looks beneficial for any other type of development as well. And the other, of course, is support for Kotlin scripts and plugins. So if you bring 3, make that available, and not the new model, not Kotlin are not there. So I don't know. I don't know why it's Gradle 3 all of a sudden.
I imagine it's probably because they had planned it to be Gradle 3, and when they dropped features, they never just changed the number back to, I suppose it would have been 2 dot, I don't know, 5 or something. But yeah, it's actually, that's true. They did say that they do have the beginnings of, what do they call it, Kotlin script, the ability to script your Gradle build with Kotlin inside there, and that they're working very hard to have that complete support by the end of the year.
If I'm not in error, what we see now, the level of support that we see now was the level of support that existed when they announced the whole Kotlin thing back a couple of months ago. I didn't try it. I didn't, review all the issues closed in their Jira, but I think it didn't advance much from that. So I don't know, but it's good. It's for us, it's a good reason to talk about Gradle, and of course mention the performance improvements. So no complaints. Whatever makes people feel good, let make it Gradle 3.
Well, I did do the upgrade. At least I went through SDK Manager to install the latest one. And of course, it didn't really change anything in any of my existing builds, but most of my builds are not that complicated. They are, used for demonstrations and teaching purposes and sometimes open source projects. So in order to at least see something, I actually went and did a build scan. Have you done one of those yet?
Yeah, so I planned with build scan, and it looks very good. So yeah, those are great news. The build scans, and looking forward to use them in production and showcase them more. Actually, jumping a little bit ahead to the conferences section of the podcast, we're going to speak about Java 1 and the strong Groovy representation there. And one of the talks will be what we call the project automation tools face-off, when we will compare Gradle with Maven and Bazel. And one of the things that I, as being the one advocating for Gradle, will show is, of course, the build scan, because it's a great advantage over how other tools provide the ability to retrospect what happened during the build.
Well, boy, I didn't know you were the one representing Gradle. That puts a lot of pressure on you, man. The whole community is going to be relying on you to pull that off. You have to beat Maven.
Well, I'll just show Kotlin scripts, and I will be the winner.
Yeah, right. In a multi-project build, no less, right? Yeah. What weird dependency you're going to put in there that'll throw off Maven? There's got to be something. All you have to do is customize it, right? I mean, unless somebody's going to write tons of Maven plugins, just customize your project layout and you win, right?
Yes.
Something. But we're counting on you, man.
I hope to do a good job there, and I hope Gradle will be the winner, because it really should. I think we have so this script we try to. It's hard, right? Those build tools are different, and with a little being smart on selection of the use cases, we can knock dead one tool or another. Right, so it's very easy to get started with and kill Bazel on the lack of dependencies and transitive dependencies. It's very easy to go on Maven by showing a heavy customized Gradle script, but I think what we try to do is to keep some balance and show pros and cons for each and every tool, and definitely Maven and Bazel will win in some categories over Gradle, but I think that overall Gradle will look better comparing the others, but we will see how it will go.
No, I'm sorry, I can't accept that. Normally, I'm quite flexible on these things, but no. This one, we have to win this one. This is important, okay? So
all right.
We just had the Olympics, this is our Olympics, okay? You've got to win this.
The way it works is that actually audience votes by applauding. So I expect now all our listeners, all the thousands of people listening to the Groovy Podcast, will come to this talk at Java 1 and will make Gradle the winner.
Well, what day is it? Do you know yet?
I think it's on the 22nd. Let me do a quick search and I will give you the exact date. Gradle in the session catalog. The search of the session catalog this year actually works quite nicely.
We have a link to the session catalog in the show notes, just to let
Yes.
people know.
Yes.
While you're looking that up, I will be at Java One as long as your talk isn't on Thursday. I will be there. I have to leave.
Yeah, no, it's actually on Monday. It's on Monday, September 19th, 12:30 p.m.
You're kidding. I'm giving a talk at the exact same time. That is so wrong. Oh, so I can't. I'm going to have to encourage people separately because I won't be there. I'm doing my Groovy and Java 8 talk at that exact same.
I have a very good solution for you. Just take over your audience and come to my talk. We will guarantee that Gradle will win then.
Well, you better win then. I mean, I've got to put more pressure, Any rate, I'm supposed to talk about Groovy and Java 8, which in order to prepare for that, I'm doing a talk at the Boston area Grails user group tomorrow night. That's today's the 30th, so I suppose that's August has 31 days. So tomorrow that's the 31st, right? And that's where I'm going to get some feedback to find out what to say during the Java 1 talk as well. Right after that talk, by the way, I'm going to do probably the world's least attended book signing because the O'Reilly people are letting me do the signing of Gradle recipes for Android. And, we're at Java 1. So we're going to have a tough time having people interested in Gradle and Android at Java 1. I mean, just not a combination. But if anybody's around, come by and say hi. I'll be happy to sign your ebook that the Gradle people are giving away for free.
What I can guarantee on my side is that after our talk, I will send everybody to buy your book and get them signed.
To buy it for free, right? And then we should do it. I always had this idea of doing like a digital signature where you take the PDF and you create a hash and you sign it with a private key and all the normal things. Make it some kind of self-signed certificate and all that. Just haven't gotten around to doing it. If I can find some time between now and then, maybe I'll see if I can put something together. Any rate, so we'll be at Java 1. I know there's going to be talks by others. I know Guillaume Laforge is going to be there, right?
Yes. So opening up the session catalog on Groovy again, we have a very good selection of Groovy talks this year. So I know that the whole rumor that Java 1 is in decline and it's not what it used to be, but I have to say where it comes to our Groovy micro track, we are doing just fine. So of course we have your talk of Groovy and Java 8 making Java better, and another one about Spock, right? You have two, and there are others as well. So Dirk Coyne, the lead author of Groovy in Action first and second edition, is going to talk about improving your Groovy Kung Fu. I'm a little bit skeptical about it because I think that all he can say about Groovy is don't use Groovy, use whatever new language he's in love with, and then talk about Frege for 45 minutes. So I'm a little bit afraid about that. And of course, the Groovy journey in open source. That's Guillaume's talk about how Groovy is now adapted after the transition to Apache Foundation. There is a couple of others in which Groovy is more like a sideline than the main topic, and I will deliver my beloved writing Groovy ST transformation, getting practical in an hour as well. And that one I delivered a couple of times in great conferences and others. It was always well accepted because usually when it comes to ST, it comes to all these theoretical problems of building unidirectional asynclic trees and all this kind of crap. I have no idea about that, so I just sit down on my computer and write some ST transformations and show people that it's not a rocket science actually to do that, and that works well as well. So a lot of good Groovy content, a lot of good Gradle content at Java 1. If you're there, you will have a great time.
Well, that's really good. I'll be looking forward to any talks that don't conflict with mine. And I would go see Dirk talk about anything. So that.
Oh yes, absolutely. He's a great speaker. I'm a little bit disappointed that the Groovy Puzzlers weren't accepted this year, but I guess they only have that amount of slots for Groovy Talks at Java 1.
Well, maybe they found out that your last Puzzlers section had a puzzler that was actually a bug inside of Groovy, and they just weren't interested after that.
No, I did it for every season had one or two. I think the first has two, but the second and third have only one puzzler, which is a bug. And I think that what it should be. We should show people that sometimes there is just a bug, and especially have a lot of fun with people trying to guess the right answer when they actually don't have any chance to do that.
Well, I'm actually glad that you'll be able to focus on winning that Gradle competition. You have to win that. So that's, if anything that gives you more time to focus on that competition is a good thing. So
got it. Okay.
Might as well talk about conference stuff while we're here. There's been a couple of GreatConf US wrap-ups. There was one posted on the OCI Grails team blog. I have a link to that. That I believe was Ryan Vanderwerf wrote one of those. He's of course now working for OCI. And there was another one by Roberto Perez, who wrote a blog on it's just called a GreatConf US wrap-up, and that was also very interesting. So we haven't seen a lot of the presentations from that yet, but in addition to those write-ups, I have seen several of the slides start showing up. By the way, I'm notoriously bad about that. I've got to send in my slides to the GitHub repository. But I do want to call out specifically, Craig Atkinson is, from my mind, just the Jeb guru. If I want to use Jeb or learn anything about Jeb, he's the man, for browser automation. And put in his slides on the intro to Spock and Jeb, as well as the Jeb tips and tricks. I wound up somehow missing both of those talks at GreatConf because I was busy with other stuff, but I'm really glad that the slides are available. So those are there. Also, Colin Harrington did a Getting Started with Grails 3 set of slides, which is very helpful. Anise Davis wrote about creating a Gradle plugin. She did another talk about her transition from Grails to Android, and I know the slides are there for that. I didn't happen to paste it in. Oh, it looks like I missed the link, which I have to put in there for Craig Burke's infamous Practical and Stupidly Impractical Groovy DSL talk.
Oh yeah, that was a good talk.
Featuring the dreaded Dane Cook bot.
Oh yes.
That was beautiful.
And as expected, it went completely bad and ended up to be a catastrophe. But that's why we love those talks.
Well, it actually went remarkably long before it got blocked. I was really surprised that it lasted as long as it did. But at any rate, I'll fix the link in that and I'll push that back to the repository. So at any rate, I put some links to those. I know more will be showing up. Speaking of GreatConf, the GreatConf in Europe, the conference in Copenhagen back in June, they have a YouTube channel and they are slowly adding actual presentations to that. There's a list of them in the Grails diary that shows them all, but we have a link to the actual YouTube channel for the GreatConf EU section so that you could follow the links, plus those little 2 or 3 minute interviews that were done with a whole series of people in the community. Okay, another interesting thing on that, let's see, just mentioning, just the last thing about GreatConf, of course, is that GreatConf India will be in January next year. I believe it's the first weekend in January. We've got the dates right here. Oh, no, we don't, but I know that they're set. Let me just Google that real quick. GreatConf IN. I don't need to Google it. I can go right there.
And GreatConf, whoa, I have it.
It's 7th and 8th. That's the 7th and 8th for GreatConf in New Delhi. At the moment, I am scheduled to go to that, by the way. So I've never been to India. I haven't actually been to Asia yet. I'm a little intimidated by all the number of hours in the plane. They say you don't really know jet lag until you cross the international date line. I know you travel, 3 times as many miles as I do? You'll have to warn me about that.
Yes. So the trick not being jet lagged is not sleep a couple of days before that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, at any rate, we'll deal with that when we get much closer. I have to mention also, as long as we're talking about conferences, the next major Groovy conference would be the G3 Summit in Fort Lauderdale, November 28th to December 1st. I know that they're ramping up their online presence. I've seen a lot more tweets about it recently. There's a lot of good presentations that are going to be there. They've seen some tentative schedules coming. So I'm really looking forward to that, and we will continue to talk about that as we get closer. Not to mention the fact that it's in Fort Lauderdale at the end of November, beginning of December. So that's just a good combination right there.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect time to be in Florida. That's for sure.
Yes. Okay, so that takes care of the conference schedule. Anything? Oh, I suppose we should then talk about Rat Pack, right?
Yeah, Red Pack had minor release as well, but an important one, 1.4.
Well, they had a relatively major and then a quick one right after that. They had 1.4.0, which was the one with all the new stuff in it, and then a quick fix that came out in 1.4.1. And both of those happened within, during August. So I think the 1.4.1 just came out last week, actually. So they are up to date, but they've got, they updated all their dependencies. They've got the new promise methods and batch processing. I'm kind of interested in that retrofit 2 integration. Do you use retrofit at all, just out of curiosity?
No, I didn't. I don't remember when I needed to use it last time, so
it's
not
really
so much.
basically a REST client. Okay, it's a way of doing HTTP access, which they do using the OK HTTP library from Square. Retrofit's also from Square, but it also allows you to define an interface and map your JSON response to a web of objects, and which it will automatically populate. So it's really just a REST client. For years, I was fond of the Spring for Android project because that looked like a really simple way to do things, and that project kind of withered on the vine. In the Android world, Retrofit 2 is used as the default. Default's not a good word. The REST client of choice in that world. And therefore, I've started to use it outside of Android as well because it doesn't require Android. It's just designed to work with Android as well as others. Nice to see that the Rat Pack people are supplying that.
That's interesting because I've been waiting for a good HTTP client in Java and in Groovy world for years, because what we have is the horrible HTTP builder. And maybe if we can do some kind of a Groovy DSL on top of Retrofit, that can be actually a very good replacement.
Well, you're tough today. I liked HTTP Builder. I thought the documentation was thin, but that was where I always went to the GitHub repository, went to the test cases, and I thought the test cases were pretty good documentation for how it should work. The only problem I have with HTTP Builder is that it just doesn't seem to change. It seems to be pretty stagnant. Not a lot's going on with it.
Yeah, no, but we had a lot of problem with HTTP Builder falling back to use the HTTP client underneath, which is not very fun by itself. And the DSL is okay, but can be better. I think it shows very significant signs of age, and it's time for something new.
It would be interesting to see if somebody would go to the trouble to add a Groovy DSL on top of OK HTTP or Retrofit. Although I got to admit, they're already pretty straightforward. The benefit that Retrofit provides, in addition to the REST services, is that it also can be asynchronous. That you can invoke a call asynchronously and get back, methods that you call back. And that's the hot thing these days with RX everything. Which, by the way, finally brings me back to Rat Pack. They also have, I never even heard of this. Have you heard of RX Rat Pack inside of there now?
Yeah, so I think they spoke about it at GreatConf, and they mentioned this. They have RX Rat Pack thing. I didn't put my hand on it yet.
Yes, I haven't looked at that either. I don't use Rat Pack that often myself. I need to ramp up what I'm going to learn about it. I think Dan Woods is going to be doing another tutorial day or presentation about it at the G3 Summit. And, there may be something in his book I don't think there's anything about RX stuff in it, but he did base his book on 1.3, and that's pretty current with Rat Pack. So any rate, that was another interesting release that came out. Grails hasn't, we discussed in the last talk that milestone 2 of Grails 3.2 was out. I wouldn't be surprised if an hour after we do the podcast, Grails 3.2 gets released. I don't know. I just get the feeling it's going to be very soon. They did talk third quarter. I'm hoping that's sooner rather than later. But we'll see how that comes too. Yeah, we mentioned in that had the RX Gorm part for the non-relational databases like Mongo. That also had the JSON views in it, which looked to be very powerful. So that's going to be very very nice. But we did talk about that. Anything else you wanted to talk about? In our little list here, or anything else occurred in the community that you want to mention?
Yeah. So you wanted to speak about the new hires at OCI, which are very, very high profile groovy leaders are joining. So those are big news.
Yeah, I put the Twitter handles in the show notes, but it's basically Ivan Lopez, right?
Yeah, he's of course the organizer of the Greek conference.
Yeah, I mean, so an excellent developer as well as organizer. And Jack Frosch is a guy I've known for years, mostly from No Fluff conferences, No Fluff Just Stuff. He's a very frequent attendee and recently has given a few talks on the tour as well. And it looks like anybody who's active in the Grails community seems to ultimately find a bit of a home at OCI. I know they also were starting to put together some additional screencasts as well. I think I didn't see a link for it, but I believe that Graham Roche himself is putting together another, why use Grails 3.2 type screencast. Did you see something about that?
No, not yet.
I know.
And the good news about that, all those people getting hired in OCI, that I think that we have a safe place to go for the next step of our career if you want to. Well, good knowledge.
It's also nice to know that there are opportunities out there that it's causing OCI to continue to ramp up. It's good that sounds like they will continue to be able to support Grails in an active way in the future, which is very, very helpful.
No, yeah, and in that, going back to the perception versus reality talk that you delivered in the Great Conference, so this is exactly kind of a perception that actually represents reality that we need. And next time someone is doubtful about where Grails is going, we have here a very, very good answer. Look at the Grails team. Look at the level of the people there and what they are doing. Grails is just fine, right?
Well, and Jeff Brown, by the way, has also been actively pushing the story that the getting across the message that Grails 3 really is Spring Boot with a bunch of benefits on top of it. I think he gave a talk at an LA Groovy user group just last week where that was the main focus, and I know he's going to continue to be giving talks of that nature. So that should help as well. I'm afraid I think I've used up everything I had in the notes. Is there anything that I missed or that you're interested in?
No, I think we covered all of that for now, and I think we're all set. Spoke about the upcoming conferences. We spoke about all the new releases. I guess we're all set.
Well, in 3 weeks is Java 1, right? I think we got 3 weeks from now to that. I'll be going to a No Fluff Just Stuff conference in Atlanta and then flying from Atlanta to San Francisco. So I'll be there. My talks are on Monday and Wednesday. We'll have to find some time, hopefully Tuesday, I guess, to do a Groovy podcast from Java 1. Wouldn't that be ironic? Right?
Oh yes. It will be, and we will have a very good company there, a bunch of groovy people that hopefully will be happy to join us. It'll be a great episode, that's for sure.
You should definitely try to round up Dirk Koenig. I mean, it's just been too long since we've had him involved in something like this. So I'd love to get a hold of him. And I'm sure there will be, as you say, other groovy people around. from the ecosystem. So that we'll definitely plan to do one then. And
We will.
then after that, of course, we'll be focused on the G3 summit at the end of the year. Hopefully the Grails 3.2 release will occur probably before the Java 1 conference, but regardless, it's upcoming. And I don't know that we've got any other major releases that we're waiting for on the horizon. Right now, I think we're in a mode where we're looking at interesting performance-based improvements rather than radical changes in behavior on the major projects.
Yeah, this is what it looks like. I hope eventually we will see the new Groovy release with the new mop inside, but I don't think we should expect it before Java 1.
Well, this is the sign of a maturing community. So what that basically boils down to is that it'll be relatively quiet so that you can keep your head focused on winning that competition at Java 1 for Gradle. That's very important, okay? So we'll definitely talk about that there. But if you need any help or anything in before that, remember you've got the entire Groovy community to draw on.
Yes, I understand the responsibility, and it will be a lot of fun.
That's much better. I like your attitude much better now. That's
All right. Okay. No, that you made you made your point.
Okay. So we will talk again soon, and thank you very much. And I'll try to get this posted as soon as possible, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much for watching, for listening, and yeah, I'll see you soon.
Take care.
Bye bye.